Welcome back, my fellow agents. It is I, X7, your agent of stop motion animated awesomeness today. When this was the movie Sven broadcast 2 weeks ago, well, 2 Saturdays ago. Last week, or this past week, was Kingdom of the Spiders, which, aside from William Shatner, I'm not particularly enthralled by. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. No, Nature Gone Wild movies just don't do it for me. And next week, well, we might review Ghost of Frankenstein. We will not review the Blair Witch Project because I can review that in like 4 sentences. Three annoying kids get lost in the woods without knowing where they are. They're horrible people. You cheer for whatever is killing them and want the movie to be over in like 20 minutes. Okay, having said all that, we are going to be reviewing the Mysterious Island, the 1961 Ray Harryhausen / Charles Schneer movie, and it's it's pretty good, but it's a good adventure movie. We'll get into the rest of it, my criticisms and compliments about it here momentarily, but overall, it's quite enjoyable. This print I got from the Internet Archive does have, I want to say, Portuguese subtitles in it. Blake might be able to tell me what yes or no about that. But so you will see them, but it was the better print. That's why we have it. But before we get too much further into it, please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment if you do see that they are Portuguese subtitles or something else. Let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know what you like about it. And if you do like the Blair Witch Project, well, keep it to yourself. All right. Are you ready? Let's proceed one frame at a time and let's roll. All right, we start off right away with, I guess, an ocean sequence, but we also get to hear the stirring musical score of Bernard Herrmann, which is amazing. That's it right there. And we get introduced to Charles
Whatever
H.
you have imagined in your wildest dreams now becomes a visual reality. As Jules Verne's most fantastic adventure in space and time becomes an amazing film experience.
It is an amazing film experience. It's a great adventure movie overall. It was not one of Ray's big hits. The box office was $5 million. It doesn't say, Wiki doesn't say what it was shot for, but it was probably a fairly a good amount, but it's a good movie. And starring Michael Craig and Joan Greenwood and Herbert Lom as Captain Nemo. We'll get into Herb a little. Of course, Herbert Lom a little further. Of course, visual effects by Ray Harryhausen, directed by Cy Enfield, cinematography by Wilkie Cooper in Super Dynamation, which would turn into Dinorama. It's, yeah, you know what it is. It's stop motion. Ray's stop motion way of putting live creatures in between two plates of film, and he was great. He should have gotten a patent for that and he'd have been even richer. All right. The book, it is based on the Jules Verne book from 1971. 1971. Oops, 1874. I was only almost 100 years there. And is a semi-sequel to, although it's technically a sequel to In Search of the Castaways and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea was set after the end of the Civil War. Says the siege of Richmond. Jeez. Slow down here. Slow the fudge down, as Brock told Randy Orton once. And so it's a sequel, but it's set before 20,000 Leagues happens. I don't think Jules Verne was particularly caring about continuity that much. So there's the basket. They're talking about the balloon there. Libby Military Prison in Richmond, VA, 1862. And here's two of our heroes. That would be Captain Cyrus Harding, and Dan Jackson as Corporal Ned Nugent, and we can believe he never got cat scratch fever. Here's two of our insurrectionists, and they're going down to visit them. Looks like a little bit like Miguelito Loveless there, doesn't it? Wouldn't be surprised if he'd have been part of the insurrection. Anyway, they trick him, they loosen some steps, they get away and grab the balloon right there. And it's four of them. They don't know each other, but the first three are, well, we'll meet them here in a moment. So they introduce themselves. There's Cyrus Harding and Neb there, Corporal Neb, and Herbert Brown, who is, I want to say, private. Doesn't say. His name's Herbert, which is kind of funny since Captain Nemo was Herbert, was played by Herbert Lom. And then Gideon Spilett from the New York Herald, and finally Sergeant Pencroft from the Traders and the Confederacy there. So, good thing is he's played by Percy Herbert, who would later on, 5 years later, play Akoba in 1,000,000 Years BC. So we've already talked about him. Oh, he was in Night of the Demon as well as one of the farmers, but was deleted from the U.S. print, which is there's no reason to watch that. I mean, it's such a we need to talk about Night of the Demon, Curse of the Demon. So we've seen him in several things. Yeah, he was Sakana. Akoba was the father. Pardon me. There we go. So there in the balloon, he's the only one that knows how to pilot the balloon. So he's like, I'm not, you can't boss me around, but we'll go our own way once we land. And they agree to that. Unfortunately, another storm happens. This balloon sequence could be trimmed by about 5 minutes. The movie runs 100 minutes, roughly 101 minutes. It could lose about 10 minutes total and be a much better movie, I think, just because they pad it a bit with some talky nonsense that just kind of slows the movie down. It does have that Harryhausen slow buildup that he got from King Kong. Ray, as Ray loves, see the Valley of Gwangi as well. But this one the balloon sequence just goes on. Finally, they land on a strange or perhaps mysterious island, and they don't have any idea what's going on except that there's a volcano, and birds that were matted in here, seagulls, and that's probably the worst effect in the entire movie. And they're eating oysters on the half shell. Ugh, I don't know. And so they can't find the captain, but there's someone's lit a fire, but he's out cold. So then they're building a shelter down there and still eating oysters. And they're wanting to get off the island, of course, so they're going to build a boat eventually. They don't know where they are, which way to go. They don't have a sextant or anything. So good luck. Right? Oh, I left both of these. Well, anyway, off they go, and we see a parrot and a cockatiel and this lovely homage to King Kong. So, but they get across. There's no giant ape on one side and no Chasmosaurus on the other. And they find some natural geysers, and then the crab shows up. Here's our first stop motion monster. It's a giant crab, and it's, oh my gosh, the animation's so well done here. This really is. Ray did some top-notch work there. According to Sven and what we see here, it was all filmed with a dead crab, but they used this is a live crab for the close-ups of the mouth moving. Poor Neb. But there's his it's not really him. That's a stop-motion doll. Brick's favorite. And they tip it in and get Neb out before they fall into the geyser, and then they get to have crab meat. Now, crab meat is generally high effort, low reward, but I think with a crab that size, you probably could have fed them all. There's a little light sequence here with some dancing and running around. The interesting thing here is that Pencroft has no problem working right alongside Neb. I mean, he's a Southerner. He's a Britisher. The actor is, and his accent's a little peculiar, but it works. I mean, you wouldn't know if you didn't know. I didn't see this until well into the 80s. I was the day aired on Channel 4's afternoon movie, I had a basketball game to go to. Don't ask me why I was playing basketball. I was terrible, but it seemed like a good idea at the time. But there's our fake volcano, which is going to play. Well, so they're going exploring and they run into a goat. So they grab the goat. They see the volcano, and there's another boat. Well, they see it's crashed up, and now we find our two young ladies. Well, our young lady. This is Beth Rogan as Elena Fairchild. Um, yes, Jennifer Puckle was her real name. And you can read more about this movie in the Zenorama from the World Past Hope and Fear homage issue to From the Land Beyond Beyond. She was only in a few movies, and this is the only one I've seen. And then we get to see meet Lady Fairchild next, who's right there, played by Joan Greenwood, who was in many more movies. Yeah, so star stage struck. Where is her partial filmography? Yeah, way more. Barbara, she was in Barbarella, a movie I wanted to like more than I did. But so there's that. They build the women a privacy shelter, and the captain has to get the gentleman to keep moving along. And then they find a new shelter, and they go up to look around. Finds a dusty old, someone was there, an iguana, and a skeleton, and they left a book. The pirates had cut out his tongue and left him there to die, and with a bottle of rum. Yo ho ho. And so they just move there because it's safer from whatever they think it's safer. Dun dun dun. But they still didn't have a lot of the necessities. Fortunately, a strange object, a chest, washes ashore. Neb finds it because he's the one that they send out to do the stuff. It's got guns in it. It's got a mirror and books and a sextant and maps so they can find their way around. They know where, can kind of figure out where they are. Somewhere south of Fiji, I think. And Robin's.
Verne, the man whose great stories inspired such unusual films as Around the World in 80 Days, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Journey to the Center of the Earth, surpasses them all with Mysterious Island.
Well, it does have monster or giant creatures in it. I don't know if it surpasses those two. And it's been a decade or two or three or four since I've seen the first adaptation of Around the World in 80 Days. So Fog can marry Linda Mays. But it's quite good. All of the beach scenes were shot in Catalonia, in Spain, and Shepperton Studios in England. And the rest of the movie was in Shepperton Studios. It's quite good. I can't, really good. So the sixth collaboration between Schneer and Harryhausen. And of course, shot in Spain because, I don't know, Harryhausen wanted a vacation, I think. Let's see, is there anything else in here? Yeah, Bernard Herrmann. I really like it. I mean, I didn't like it the first time I saw it because I thought it was kind of bland. And once again, it probably was edited a bit probably taken six minutes out or so for the 94-minute to fit in 2 hours. But everything else has been complete. They're Elena's not pleased to be working, but Morgan Fairchild, no, Lady Fairchild, who my wife, she says, buck up. We're gonna work here. We gotta do our due diligence. But Spilett there has gone off fishing and catches a little more than he bargained for, if you can see by the shadow. Now this is the best stop motion sequence in the movie. The Phororhacus, I don't even know what it's supposed to be called at the moment. Let's see, do they have it there? Where is the giant crab? Come on. Giant flightless bird. Yeah, it's called now Phororhacus, but I learned it originally as Phororhacus. It's hard not to want to keep calling it that, but that is nomen dubium at the moment. Well, now. So it's a terror bird. Now, back then they thought that this thing, which is a dinosaur, because look at the damn thing, would be a meat eater. It didn't eat meat. It ate nuts and seeds. It just looks ferocious, and it probably could be deadly with those legs. This is about look at that leap. I mean, animation here is just great. It's the longest sequence, and there's only three stop motion sequences in the movie. Although I do love the last one simply because of its subject matter. But look at that. It's like, hey, pay attention to me. But and Lady Fairchild is no, she's ready to shoot it, but the gun jams. So I mean, it's just great. I left a lot of this in here just to see it. There's the stop motion because old private there, Herbert is sweet on Elena, and who wouldn't be? He jumps in to save her life, but then a mysterious shot rings out. Suddenly, a shot rings out, and the bird falls, and then they eat it because who wouldn't? I mean, I wonder they probably could get salt at least from the sea, just drying it out, drying the water out, and you would have salt. But I don't know what else they would use. But I'm sure they found some greenery because they had to know by then that if you didn't have greenery in your diet, you'd get rickets. Then our new couple, they want to talk about getting married, that the captain can marry him even though he's not a ship captain. And they find honey, so off they go to explore. Oops. Oh, there's four. Pardon me. I always forget about the bees because they're just being bees. They don't even menace them really. They're just scared of them because they're stupid. And why they'd seal them into the honeycomb is beyond me. I should have a honeycomb hideout um, uh, soundbite here, but I forgot. So there's three bees, but there was only one bee. This was just duped in over and dubbed over. But Herbert's not too dumb. He just lights a fire and melts the wax. They get out. Unfortunately, while they're doing this, the pirates show up. Might be the dread pirate Roberts. He's probably about to kill Wesley. She's all worried about her niece, which is Elena. But he's like he's a soldier. He'll take care of her, and he does. But guess what they find? The Nautilus. I mean, it's not quite the same as the Disney one, but it's pretty close. As pretty close as you can get. But Disney really couldn't copyright it. Their exact design they could, but not the overall design. I just love looking at all the colors. It's like being in they're in the sea view, and there it is. There's always an organ, which is funny as we'll get to. Here's some pirates coming ashore looking for water, but then Lady Fairchild drops the gun and go off, and the shooting starts, the army men just blow away these pirates. They mow down three of them. Unfortunately, the pirates have cannons on their ship and just start wailing the tar out of that. Bloom, bloom. Unfortunately for the pirates, our heroes, the castaways, have a savior here who sinks the ship. Then we find out they're wondering what the heck's going on. And Herbert's is going to challenge whatever's coming out of the sea there, and it's Captain Nemo, played by Herbert Lom. So Herbert Brown is menacing Herbert Lom, who is Captain Nemo. We will remember Herbert Lom from Curse of the Werewolf. No, that's Oliver Reed. Pardon me. He was in many more things. He's one of my favorite actors. He was just. Let's see. We're going to get down here a little further. Good Lord, he had a lot of Phantom of the Opera. So he's already played it from next year. He was in Hammer's Phantom of the Opera, and then of course Count Dracula. He was Van Helsing in a Count Dracula movie, which apparently Lilith wants to talk about. Pardon me, Professor Van Helsing. Let's see, American drama. So yeah, he was in tons, and of course he was Chief Inspector Dreyfus of the Pink Panther movies, several of the Pink Panther movies. Chief Wikipedia lists him as Chief Inspector Charles Dreyfus, and in the Pink Panther Strikes Again, former Chief Inspector Charles Dreyfus. Oh my gosh, he's hilarious. He's such a great actor. I didn't like him at first because, of course, James Mason is an incredible Captain Nemo, but he's really good. I mean, he's got the same sonorous voice, so he knows everybody. He's like, yeah, I've been watching you since you've been here. I saved your lives, and, etc. and so on. See if we can find it.
Through the earth, Jules Verne, the man whose great stories inspired such surpasses them all with.
No, they don't.
Joan Greenwood, shipwrecked on the mysterious island.
Okay. So he's telling them how they're going to get out of here by raising the ship and pumping the water out of it. And they're like, but the captain is like, yeah, I don't like you. You blew up our ships in a war that, you know, in a movie that was before this one, but after this one. So he's going to tell them how he does it, and they all like, yeah, and it works. I mean, it's scientific principle. Here's our first underwater sequence with their electronic zapper and our, former, our unknown civilization there, and of course the rumbling of the volcano. They're on a time frame here.
And in this story of survival, Michael Callan and Beth Rogan.
Yeah.
Come on.
So there's, and finally, when the volcano decides to erupt, they're like, we're out of time. They're like, we failed. And there he is as former inspector, former chief inspector Charles Dreyfus. Clouseau, kill Clouseau, or the next year's Phantom of the Opera playing. It's funny how that happens. Now, in the Pink Panther movie, that was done on purpose. This time, he predates himself being the Phantom of the Opera. But there's a possibility. They figure out a way to blow up the balloon and raise the ship. So off they go. Now, I'm assuming they put some provisions on there.
What's it doing? I don't know. Sealing us in.
But you don't see any provisions
also
here.
starring Herbert Lom as the mysterious Captain Nemo and his fabulous submarine, the Nautilus.
Aren't we able to do anything to save ourselves?
There's nothing that can be done.
Well, that was a lie. The trailer, I mean, why would you give away the surprise of Captain Nemo? I mean, although if you've read the book, your humble agent tried to read the book many years ago in grade school because I knew from Famous Monsters that there would be monsters in it. There's no monsters in the book. Still a little salty about that. So the volcano's woken up whatever this is, and then they're trying to repair the boat, and they're raising it. It's working. It's working. The captain's got all his notes and everything. He's going to grow giant food, hence the giant bees. The Phororhacus is not a giant chicken, no matter what people say. It's a prehistoric bird, so that's kind of iffy. I'm assuming that the Nautilus, the Nautiloid that we see here, which is a fantastic model as well, it's just kind of a boring little sequence. It grabs Pencroft, and the captain zaps him and lets go, sends a block of ink out, and they rescue him. But it's a good sequence and it's the right length, but it really is just to throw a little more menace in there as we go along.
Super Dynamation, newest and greatest screen process.
Well, it was the same thing that Dynamation was in 1957 for the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. But they raise the ship, and he's got two like closed circuit television because he can see what's going on. Unfortunately, they want to go back to get him, but everything's crumbling. He gets crushed in the Nautilus, and down he goes. Now, Captain Nemo survives everything. He gets survived being shot, although I don't know if that's in the book. It's been a while since I've read 20,000 Leagues of the Sea, but he got shot in the Disney movie, so one can assume that he survived. But there they go. They realize that they got to sail away. I hope they brought food on, but there must be other islands floating about, and they could have gone back if the volcano didn't sink the island, right? Am I right? Am I right? But off they go. Now it's narrated by the captain, and so, but that's it. I mean, it's a fun movie, and I highly recommend it. It's not my top five. I don't think it's not my top three Harryhausen movies. It's probably in the top 10 for sure. He didn't do that many, really. It's higher than some certain fans would want it to be, but screw him. He's not the boss of me now. But that's our movie. You'll see the trailer here afterward, and we will not be. We may or may not do Son of or Ghost of Frankenstein. We'll find out. But until our next assignment, my fellow agents, this is X7 signing off, and I'm phasing out.
Whatever you have imagined in your wildest dreams now becomes a visual reality. As Jules Verne's most fantastic adventure in space and time becomes an amazing film experience.
Don't let me fall! Lighten the basket, we gotta gain height!
Jules Verne, the man whose great stories inspired such unusual films as Around the World in 80 Days, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Journey to the Center of the Earth, surpasses them all with Mysterious Island. Starring Michael Craig, who triggers the screen's most thrilling escape, Gary Merrill as a war correspondent, Joan Greenwood, shipwrecked on the mysterious island. And in this story of survival, Michael Callan and Beth Rogan.
Come on.
What's it doing?
I don't know.
Sealing us in.
Also starring Herbert Lom as the mysterious Captain Nemo and his fabulous submarine, the Nautilus.
Aren't we able to do anything to save ourselves?
There's nothing that can be done.
Super Dynamation, newest and greatest screen process, astonishes the eye with such scenes as the fight to the death with a prehistoric devilfish, the discovery and destruction of an underwater city, Mysterious Island, photograph on land, under the sea, and in the air. Truly a first in motion pictures.